Harrison Price for Friday, December 19th, 2025. A presentation of Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sakaris with Blake Price, Mike Rogerson, all his Junos hitting switches and conducting things.
A little tired today?
Little.
Yeah.
Had a good Christmas party last night.
In combination
Playing
with
a little
the Thursday night craziness in the National Football League.
So we were planning this a few weeks ago, and one of our collaborators with the Nation Network, we were looking at steakhouses, things like that, and he gets back to me. He goes, "Oh, that Rams Seahawks game. We're gonna have to go to a place where we've got good television coverage." We were 11 or 12 people. I'm like, okay, well that narrows our search down. And then I'm like, do we want volume? And it's like, well, volume would be preferred. Yeah, it's a big game. Well, good thing. I mean, as much as I enjoyed your company and Mike's and everybody else's, I had a fixation there on the screen, especially in that fourth quarter.
What a
holy cow.
Game. Although the volume wasn't so high that we necessarily understood in the moment what that backward pass was all about.
Well, because there were a lot of people making a lot of noise in the bar.
Yeah.
I mean...
Anyway, more on that game coming up later.
I just distinctly, I heard a voice, "That's a lateral. That's a lateral." I'm like, yeah, I think he's right. When I first saw it, I thought for sure it's a lateral. Then it's the overhead. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe just barely, but it's a lateral.
Crazy.
Yeah. Into the deep recesses of the NFL rule book last night for the Seattle Seahawks to beat the LA Rams in the NFL Game of the Year. I mean, heck, that one's got a case for game of the century. I know there was that Rams-Kansas City game on Monday night a few years ago, the absolute shootout. And look, we've even seen some great Super Bowl, the 28-3 comeback from New England and whatnot. But good gracious.
If those Seahawks now can get that number one seed, they advance straight to the second round. Yeah. And, when you consider, Vancouver Rise championship season, Whitecaps and all what they did, the Blue Jays season, put it on the pile. Our cup runneth over with extended championship runs. Mm-hmm. Not all of them ending with trophies, obviously. But it's been a pretty good year to be a fan of membership teams, however we describe Seattle, Toronto teams in this market. But it's been a fun year to be a sports fan.
Except for one.
Except for the biggest franchise in this market, of course.
And we will get to them. They play this afternoon in New York, quickly turn around and play again in Boston tomorrow. But before we get to the games and the Canucks and who's playing and perhaps more importantly who isn't playing, the daily poll question asking you, should Brock Besser be the next captain of the Vancouver Canucks? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Harrison Price X and YouTube channels. Mr. Price.
I'm going to say no. There have been pensive captains in the past, certainly. I'm not saying that his more quiet, pensive demeanor is the chief problem.
Just had a quiet captain. Henrik was a quiet captain.
Yeah. I mean, he started quiet. I think he was pretty verbose by the end of things. I don't think there was a more available player than Henrik Sedin. I just wonder about where his career is headed. I wonder about whether he's a Canuck long term. And I know he's got a no-move clause, but we also know the value of those going forward. I'm all for him being a part of the leadership group. I think he's got a lot to add in that regard.
He is.
But after cycling through a couple of quick captains, I think it might be time to find a longer-term solution. And in that vein, Matt, I wouldn't rush into it. I just don't think Mammoth went, 3 years without a captain? I don't know that you don't need to go 3 years without a captain.
They're
but
waiting for Shane Doan to unretire.
I don't think there's a requirement that you even start training camp next year with a captain. I would be willing to see all of next year through without a captain.
A new season? You're not going to name a captain?
Other teams, it's not unprecedented. Other teams do it all the time.
Oh, but it's bizarre.
No, I don't think so. Or you need the right candidate.
Maybe because it's a Friday, and I'm playing a little bit hurt here.
You're not up for the fight, or you are up for the fight?
I disagree with just about every syllable you uttered. Like, that is the wrongest take you've had can't even remember.
The good news is it can't be wrong. It's a subjective opinion. You can't tell me I'm wrong. You can have your separate and distinct opinion, but you can't tell me I'm wrong. There's no right or wrong answer.
I was going to ask you who's the alternative, but if you're willing to go years without a captain, then I guess you don't need an alternative.
18 months without a captain.
And what a cop-out that is.
18 months without a captain.
This is a tap-in. Yes, of course. You have no better representative in that dressing room than Brock Besser. Not only that, you don't even have an alternative in that dressing room.
That's right. That's why you wait.
Well, Brock Besser is the longest tenured player. He has shown incredible loyalty to this franchise. You saw how stoked he was to be able to return here on July 1st when he thought he had to take his career elsewhere. You're talking about a guy who has invested himself in the community, has made Vancouver a home. You're talking about a guy with character and integrity. He's great with people. He's a good communicator. Like, he's a good player. He's under contract long-term. He ticks every single box. What are you missing here?
I don't think you need to rush into it. After a year and a half, if you still don't feel like you've got a candidate,
year and a half,
then go there. I've got a feeling.
You know what?
Brock Besser's not a Canuck in 3 years.
You know what? We lost the mayor, we lost the premier, but it's okay. We'll have a by-election in 18 months.
Matt, I'm telling you, I've got a feeling that Brock Besser's not a Canuck in 3 years' time. And it's not based on anything. I just think that depending on the trajectory of this team.
You think he's going to ask for, because he's got a full no move.
Yep. Ask for a trade. It might be semantics.
Yeah, they hate that. They hate reporting that they asked for a trade.
Yeah.
No. We didn't ask for a trade. Just the agent went to the manager and said, if there's a possibility of,
Well, but it's like you said with the Sidney Crosby theories there. It's like, why? Why is Sidney Crosby staying there? The chances of him winning a cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins is almost nil. Mm-hmm. If he negotiated something with management to move him on, would you really say Sidney Crosby asked for a trade? That seems cheap to say it like that. And I think it would be the same here with Brock Besser.
No. That's the reality. They may not like the way that sounds or how it lands, but that would be the reality. Yes. If the player goes to management and says, I would just as soon play somewhere else, or I would really like to win a Stanley Cup in whatever time I have left as a player, and that's not going to happen here, or the timeline doesn't sync up. That's asking for a trade.
I guess the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you can try and sanitize it, dilute it all you want, but it's asking for a trade.
Well, no, but asking for a trade in people's minds, it becomes an ultimatum, and I don't think in either case it would be viewed as an ultimatum. I'm open to it. If it helps the club, I'm open to it.
It's not an ultimatum. The team has agency. They can tell you no.
No, but
and of course, the team's going to do it on their timeline too, for the most part. They go, okay, well, we'll see what's out there, but we're not making a bad deal just because you've said you'd prefer to play elsewhere. Do you not think Brock would be the best representative of the franchise from this player group?
From the people that we are looking at right now, yes. But I don't think, to me, he's a guy that I see in this team's future in 3 to 5 years. And why rotate through a captain that quickly again?
Well, to have a captain.
You don't
to have a leader, an assigned leader.
Again, Matt, and not to rehash an argument from like 7 years ago. You do not need the C on your sweater to be a leader.
No, you don't. You don't.
He's going to be a leader anyway.
So, but I'm also confused. Like, you think if he's gone in 3 years, don't bother.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to name a captain in the next 3 years, Blake. Come on. It's unrealistic to think otherwise.
Well,
and again,
the Utah Mammoth went 3 years
like,
without one.
Honestly, that's a less than 50-50 hunch. So on the possibility years from now he may not be a Vancouver Canuck, that's rationale for not making him a captain.
There's also going to be a lot of player movement. There's going to be a lot of player movement here in the next couple of years. You don't know who's going to land on these shores that appears to be a better option. I just don't think you rush into it. Maybe it's Brock Besser in the end in 18 months. I'm just saying you don't need to do it.
Brock Besser has been a hell and back with this franchise. Mm-hmm. And even after a season like last year where they were terrible, and there was a dressing room fight between two of his teammates, friends, that everybody told us, that cut deep with Brock. He's a feeler. He likes people. He did not love the fact that two guys who were teammates, in some cases one of his line mates and JT Miller, were at each other's throat. Even after all of that, he was euphoric to re-sign with the Vancouver Canucks on July 1st. Mm-hmm. He told his agent, get it done with Vancouver, nobody else, when they circled back on Canada Day.
Here's the other reason why you don't do it. Here's the other reason. Listen to my mouth. This is a player that I also worry about how he ages on the ice. And if he is the captain, and in 3 years' time, the proverbial cliff comes for this player who's never been blessed as a good skater, and the production dips, and we're already seeing that this year, production dipping this year. Matt, you do not want a guy who was under scrutiny for lack of production to be in the spotlight and to be faced with meeting the media every single day when he's one of the chief underperformers. And I am worried about what Brock Besser looks like in 3 or 4 seasons' time. So it's a protection mechanism as well. If he is still a Vancouver Canuck, I don't think he's one of the better Vancouver Canucks, and I think he'll have to answer to that on a more regular basis if that's the case. So it's for his own good, too. You're welcome.
I'm just so very pleased that you have thought this out to, provide a level of protection for him in a few years on the off chance he might not age well.
Well, not on the off chance. I think there's already evidence there's already evidence of a downward turn, and I'm concerned for him on that regard. You've got to answer that every day. If you wait 2.5 years, maybe Braden Coots has already emerged. Maybe Zeev Buium seems to be.
We're going to name a 20-year-old captain, a 22-year-old captain.
Yeah, a 22-year-old. Yes, that's not unprecedented.
So you're going to go without a captain for multiple years and then hope Zeev Buium
or Braden Coots.
Okay.
All of this is none of this is crazy. All of this has happened before.
It is crazy.
All of this has happened before.
Put it this way. There's certainly not a lot of logic at play here or common sense.
Why?
Well, the notion of going multiple years without a captain, that says something about your organization and your player group. Yes. And it's not a positive thing.
It's a rebuilding thing. Multiple teams that are rebuilding don't have captains.
We don't have the gumption to make a decision and assign a leader, or it says we don't think anybody in there is leadership material.
Well, yeah.
It's irregular.
It is not irregular. It happens all the time.
No, it doesn't happen all the time,
yes,
Blake.
It does.
There are 32 teams in the NHL. Mm-hmm. I would bet you 30 to 31 of them have a captain. The teams without the captain are the outliers. It's usually a signal you're a troubled franchise or you don't have a good group of character players.
There are currently 3 teams without a captain, and the Utah Mammoth just made it that way because they just named Clayton Geller.
So the score here is 29-3.
Right. But
you're telling me it's not
every
irregular.
year there are multiple teams without captains. So it's
You know
not,
that for
it
a
is
fact,
regular.
or you're
Yes.
just saying that?
No. Every year there's teams.
Who was missing a captain last year?
I don't have it in front of me, but I guarantee
Who was
you that
missing a captain the year before that?
Well, Matt,
Come on.
You're spurring this on me.
Come on.
But yes, that is the case.
Like, it's silly.
It's not silly.
It is very silly.
It's not. Happens every year.
Like the New York Yankees, for example, they're actually a baseball team that names a captain. They're irregular. But they don't just name anybody. It's Judge now. I believe he's the first one since Jeter. If you want to do it that way in that sport, which doesn't have cap, and of course the other thing, you name a captain because you want a representative with the on-ice officials. And I understand that guys with the A can also speak to the officials, but it's a tactical and strategic thing too. You want to name a captain who can work the officials, either killing them with kindness and professionalism, where the officials are like, you know what, we go in to do a game in Vancouver, and if there's a matter and we have to talk to Brock, I've got to say, he's a pro. Or you name a captain who's a big whiner like Gretzky or McDavid, and you work the officials that way.
You think...
I think naming a captain, having a captain...
You think Brock
helps.
Besser is going to be that much better of a negotiator with the officials than the next person?
I do. Because I think he's widely respected. Plays the game the right way, isn't dirty. And I think is just a good human off the ice, and I think that comes through, and people recognize that. Blake, his mom called Mrs. Hughes this week and said, you know, if Quinn needs anything here in Minnesota, we're on the ground. We're able to help.
Then name her captain, Matt.
Honestly, like, if not Brock, then Lori Besser for captain. Mike, break the tie here. You're a Canucks fan.
I don't think either of you like my answer, but I'm buying a year by naming Tyler Myers the interim captain.
And Myers, to me, is the only other candidate from a standpoint of character, integrity, communication.
So you could name him interim captain for 18 months and then name your next guy.
Well, the problem is that Tyler Myers goes from a no-move clause to a partial no-trade list next year. And, well, I think he absolutely wants to stay in Vancouver, and I could see a world where they honor that or at least don't execute a trade unless it is completely blessed by Tyler Myers. At most, I think you were looking at a year and a half with Tyler Myers as captain.
Yeah, there is a good comment in the chat here. Since all our captains leave, how about we name Petey the captain?
There you go.
I supported naming Pettersson captain before they named Hughes captain, but that was in the realm of, you want to make sure he stays here and resigns, and so you make him the captain, you make him feel ownership, give him more ownership and responsibility, and he's more likely to resign here, as we know that file played out. I don't think Elias wants any part of having to speak game after game, loss after loss, and answer questions on behalf of the room.
So
I don't think he has that level of responsibility and accountability in him.
Before you call just me crazy, Matt, this poll is already heavy voting on both Twitter and YouTube. And on both platforms right now, 65% saying no, Brock Besser. So you are in the minority.
Our polls are not scientific. We always say that.
They're not scientific. A human is pressed. We don't have bots voting on this. It is, I mean, you can argue.
How do you know?
Because I don't think it's a priority for the bots.
There's not a Russian troll farm.
No,
out
I don't
there
think so.
looking
Though,
for
we have to get involved in this Besser captaincy issue. Good point, Dimitri. I'm on it.
create a bunch of accounts, vote no. Let's bring down that American. Okay, well, that was irregular, a 20-minute fight on the poll question. I'm yes, Blake's no.
Moving on.
Who do they think, though? Is anybody writing in candidates outside of Besser?
Some people Myers, other people saying go without.
Go without. Oh, my God. James is saying Roenick. Are you kidding me? Philip Roenick hates people,
No
or at
Roenick.
least media people.
No. As Segmena says, what's worse than not having a captain for a bit or a revolving door captain? That's what I'm saying. Don't make
He's under contract for 7 more years with the no move clause.
Listen to Jeff Merrick coming up in just a little bit.
Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. No Bo, no Quinn, no Elias, no fun. And I'll tell you that for free. Canucks in Long Island tonight to face the Islanders, who are without former Vancouver captain Bo Horvat. He will miss the game with a lower body injury. Elias Pettersson also out with whatever. And, of course, Quinn Hughes now applying his trade in Minnesota. And this caps a week of storyline games that lost their lead. No Hughes Bowl in Jersey. No Elias versus JT at the Garden. And now no captain versus the former captain.
And also no Aatu RDty.
We're going to get to Aatu RDty in a moment. I suppose we'll have to amuse ourselves with Matthew Schaefer and with the newcomers, Rossi, Buyam, Ogren, on the Canucks side of things. And I am looking forward to watching Schaefer play because, oh my God, some of the highlights of this kid this year, extraordinary. For an 18-year-old defenseman, the way he skates, the aggressiveness with the puck.
There's a couple players that people forget about when they talk about sort of the next wave of defensive players, and I still think Lane Hudson is flying below the radar. I saw somebody point out that Hudson is actually outpacing Quinn Hughes through the first 100 for the first 2 seasons of their career. Hudson and Schaefer are going to give Makar and Hughes a run in the next couple of years. I think we're going to see those 2 players really rise to the occasion. I mean, it's hard to imagine a league now without Makar and Hughes, and yet now we're seeing these electrifying defensemen really populating a bunch of teams, which, it might change the way the game is played a little bit, Matt, to see these quarterbacks, and I don't mean it from a power play standpoint exclusively. I mean, they are quarterbacks, period.
Yep.
5-on-5.
Because the ball's always in their hands, the puck's always on their stick.
And we haven't seen players with the skill set to be able to do what they do. And now there's a couple of handfuls maybe of them.
Well, 6 of the top 12 selections in the 2024 draft were defensemen. And I think there's a world where that class, Blake, does what you're talking about. Now, not all of these guys are that profile of defensemen. Lev Shinov, the Blackhawks took 2nd overall. Yakemchuk, the Senators, took him 7th overall. And then Parek, Siliev, Dickinson, and Buyam rounding out those 6. And the
Parek
top
and
12.
Buyam are on the sort of the fringes of this group and could jump into it.
Yeah. And then, of course, Schaefer last year, first overall. I mean, it has been we've seen it, Darlene, Power. But if I'm not mistaken, previous to that, you're going back to like Chris Phillips or something like that. So we've seen defensemen taken high here, even with the first overall pick. And they are going to and it wasn't long ago we were saying it about Makar, Heiskanen, and Quinn, right?
Yeah.
So, no,
it's a fun Darlene and Heiskanen are 2 more to add to that pile. I mean, there's probably 10 guys that are kind of must watch on the blue line these days.
No, it's fun. It's good. Thatcher Demko with a 4th consecutive start here tonight, and I know the Tankists are bemoaning Adam Foote and his choice of goaltender, riding his top goaltender. And also, of course, because of Thatcher's injury history and how much do you push him. But I suppose it's time to make this clear. I'm not sure we've done it this week or in the last week. Can't believe we're back in this boat. But
coaches try to win.
Coaches and players are not going to tank, nor should they. It is their professional obligation to put best foot forward, to give their fullest effort, and pursue winning.
Yes. Now, Demko is going to play one of these two games anyway.
I see fans getting in the comments, what's Foot doing? We're trying to lose. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, now, if you're a manager and you want to strip down the team because you're looking to improve your draft pick,
you can take away toys. Yes.
That's it. That's how the tank goes down, at the managerial level, not at the coaching level.
And that's why I get into trouble on social media when I lament the benching of Aatu RDty, and people are like, "No, let him stay on the sidelines." And the point is now we are in the Adam Foote evaluation time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at Adam Foote's deployment choices, you're now projecting, okay, if Adam Foote somehow survives this rebuild, is he a coach you want in charge of trying to win the game? And when you look at David Camp and Drew O'Connor down the middle and say, those are my choices over Aatu RDty, I think we can question the man's prowess.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing here?
If it's one game, maybe even two, I always give them that. Coach, all right, they probably are aware of something we don't. Message sending scratch, fair enough. But it's what you always say, the cutting your nose off to spite your face. Like, when you continue on that decision, when it is demonstrably true that he is one of your best four center icemen, then you have to question what's getting in the way here with the coach. What aren't they seeing? What are they saying? Is there something in the background, like, that hasn't come out publicly, that it's a disciplinary matter that goes beyond just a single scratch or a couple of games? But to answer your question, is Adam Foote the guy I want coaching this team when they're ready to be good? The answer is unequivocally no.
Yeah.
Again, there were 31 other teams that would not have even given this guy an interview to be your head coach. And while I was picking up what he was putting down in training camp, and I did like the idea of being an adaptive, more chameleon-like team, what he's asking these guys to do with this, man check system of theirs on the defensive side of the puck isn't working. And he may not have the personnel to make it work. And we're nearly a half season here, and you've scuttled the playoff drive in part because you've stuck to that.
If he wants to win, like, I would have...
Well, of course he wants to.
No, what I'm saying is I would have multiple questions for him if I was in the scrums with him every day as to why things are as they are. I can't believe that's the guy that's trying to win. I can't. From power play to numerous deployment questions.
Well, what when you say power play, you mean
who on a night-to-night basis? Personnel, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's playing Demko for a straight game. Should tell you something.
I mean, Demko was going to play one of these two, so it was only a 24-hour deferment, even if he plays the other one. Anyhow, this is maybe not the best example of outrage over Demko's overuse, and the schedule has been light. But I think it goes to his confidence level in Lankinen right now, too.
Well, that's it. He has been so poor this year that we're effectively back to where we were at the beginning of last season when Artur Shilovs was so terrible and Tocchet couldn't trust him, and thus Lankinen played and played and played. As you say, back-to-back with Boston tomorrow. Lankinen's going to play that one. No decision has yet been made for the Monday game in Philadelphia against Rick Tocchet. Let's hear from Coach Foote talking about Thatcher's Demko's workload.
Yeah, it's a good question. He just communication with him, and Marco's done a good job with him and our goalie coach. And there's going to be maintenance and things like that here and there with Demmer, and that's okay as long as we're all very clear with our communication and that we do the right thing.
We know he's a worker bee, likes to work.
Yeah.
Between games, between starts, they had to back him off. The other question tonight, we've talked about already with RDty.
The leading point getter for the team in the month of December should be.
Also, no Pettersson, no Heatle, no Bluger. You're down 3 centers, and he can't get in.
And you need goals.
What you're risking at this level, so I would bet dollars to donuts the agent has already called up Patrick Alvin or Jim Rutherford and said, hey, what's going on with my guy there? But what you're risking here now is alienating a young player who you see as part of your future. Or having that agent call up and say, look, if you're not going to play my guy, we'd like a trade.
This is a guy they did not want to include in a summer trade for Marco Rossi.
Exactly. The just disjointedness, the lack of organizational alignment and vision continues.
This team has, 6 goals against a goaltender in the last 4 games? Didn't they have an empty netter versus the Rangers? They did. So 6 goals against goaltenders in the last 4 games. You can do the math there, folks. That's not a lot of goals.
No, it is.
And their leading point getter, despite missing games in the month, is on the shelf.
Your number 1 and your number 2 center are out, and you just lost your point per game defenseman.
It defies description. It really does. Unless, and this would be nearly unprecedented.
We're going to hear from Foot here.
Unless the manager is in Foot's ear going, we're going to lose a few games here like this, so let's do this. But I put that at near zero.
Slim. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Foot was asked about it yesterday after practice. Here's the head coach on the Aatu RDty scratches.
Well, yeah, he works hard. I'm not worried about RDty. I'm worried about the part of that he's young, and we got to keep his confidence and keep his work ethic and how he studies the game. He'll be fine. We're going through a little bit right now where some guys are coming off injury and things like that. And he might even be in tomorrow. We'll see. I don't even want to tell you what my gut thinks about the next 2 days because it could change. So I don't want to set anyone up for that, but I don't think it's fair to the players either. But yeah, we're keeping an eye on it for sure.
So a couple of things there. Adam Foote has already shown himself to us to be a head coach who is going to go out of his way not to criticize a player publicly. So if that's what was driving, let's face it, a bit of a stammering answer there, right?
Yeah.
There was not a lot of lucid, flowing thoughts.
It was
there.
point form. It was point form at best. But 2 words stood out.
Work ethic and how he studies the game.
Yeah.
So it may well be that Aatu RDty isn't paying enough attention in the film sessions or doesn't apply the lessons that they're trying to work out on the board and with film. And if that's the case and you have trouble with his work ethic, again, completely support the idea of, son, you're going to take a seat tonight until you pay better attention. But multiple games in a row. And he says, I'm not worried about him. Well, Adam, fair enough. You may not worry about him bouncing back and becoming a regular in your lineup, but I would be worried about him in terms of his continued desire to be a Vancouver Canuck if this keeps up. It's one thing to send a message, and you've got that license as a coach. Don't destroy the asset, though, in so doing.
It's very peculiar, particularly when his underlying metrics. So even if you thought he had
his advanced stats are good too.
He's defensively very, at worst, average. And considering this is a team that hemorrhages goals, again, I would say you probably have bigger fish to fry than Aatu RDty's defensive prowess. And again, given what he does in the face-off circle and how beneficial that can be in certain situations, it just doesn't track. This is a play.
He's their best face-off guy by a mile.
And the imperfect stat of plus-minus will hardly be the crown jewel point of your argument. But this is a bad team with guys like Brock Besser at -12 on the season, Elias Pettersson -8, Jake DeBrusk -9, Aatu RDty +4. Again, there's better defensive stats than that to use to herald him, but there's an example at the very least.
Yep. Canucks looking for the second 3-game winning streak of the season, the first since the second week of the season when they beat Dallas, Chicago, and Washington in succession, all on the road as well. And, of course, they've started 2-0 on this road trip with wins against the Rangers and Devils. And there is a world, Blake, where they get out of last place in the NHL standings tonight with a victory. They are 1 point behind Seattle and the Nashville Predators. Neither Seattle nor Nashville play tonight. We're talking standings points here. Canucks will have a game in hand over Nashville. They will have actually 3 games in hand over Seattle after tonight. No, sorry, 2 games in hand after Seattle, over Seattle after tonight. So on points percentage or when all's even on games, they could still be last.
And
we know some of you are tracking that because you want the 25% chance at Gavin McKenna or whomever you would take first overall.
There's going to be a lot of lead changes for the best odds for Gavin McKenna, given how squished these standings are.
But even that, Blake, and we'll see how he does at the World Juniors. I heard Scott Wheeler, the athletics prospect writer, say he has talked to teams with high picks who have McKenna ranked 3rd.
Yeah.
That they're big on Verhoff, they're big on Stenberg, or even Lawrence, the center iceman.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
You know, like Gavin McKenna, I think a lot of people thought, okay, he's not a Bedard, he's not a Celebrini, he's not a McDavid, that level first overall. But I think a lot of people thought he was like a Lafreniere level first overall in terms of there's no question who's going first overall. He's looking like he may be a Shane Wright type.
One insider suggested there might be 5 to 8 franchise-changing players in this draft.
That seems like a little much.
That's unprecedented, basically. But it could just underline there's a lot of intriguing players at the top, and you want to be in the top 5.
Yeah,
to give yourself a choice of those players. The darker side of good times is the Amigos Black Lager. It brings a touch more attitude to a Mexican-style lager. This is from Neighborhood Brewing. Go check it out. Rich malt depth, just the right amount of smoothness to keep things easy drinking. Same spirit, new vibe. A beer for friends, made by friends at Neighborhood Brewing.
The 1979 and the 2003 NHL drafts are widely viewed as some of the best drafts, 2 of the best drafts of all time. Now, 03, while it was good at the top, don't get me wrong, what made it so strong was the number of players who came later in the first round, in the second round, deeper into that draft. It's a little bit different when you're talking about the class at the top on the way in and how generational that could be. 79, Rob Ramage was the first overall pick, who was a very good player. Mike Foligno was 3rd overall, who was a very good player. But then you got into some real guys. I mean, Mike Gartner, Rick Vive, of course, here with the Canucks. He was the Canucks pick 5th overall, was excellent for 2 franchises. Ray Bourque was generational, needless to say, Hall of Famer like Mike Gartner. And then late in the round, there was Michel Goulet and Kevin Lowe, like 20th and 21st.
Those are good picks.
Yeah, and like
20s.
even guys in the middle here, like Dwayne Sutter had a good, Jay Wells, like these, Brian Propp, Brad McCrimmon, the late Brad McCrimmon, Paul Reinhardt, Mike Ramsey. Like there was a bunch of guys who had very good NHL careers.
Those are good hockey cards.
Yes.
Good OPGs right there.
They are. Yes, they are. So we'll see where this class winds up. But bottom line, we know a lot of you are following the Canucks and their position vis-a-vis the rest and want that best odds because, and we used to talk about this a lot, it's not just the 25% chance at first overall, which, let's face it, it's not that great. You lose 3 of 4. 3 times out of 4, it's not going to go your way. But if you finish last overall, you can fall no worse than third. And that's the important part.
It's the insurance plan.
It's
there.
the falling, more so than the odds of McKenna or whomever. Time now for Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats. And today we look at
why he's going. Adam Foote is going with Thatcher Demko, and that is the way that he has played since he came back from injury. He's just been Thatcher Demko, and that's the temptation here for Adam Foote. 4 goals against in the 3 appearances. So needless to say, goals against a 1.35 and the save percentage at .938. And you can bet every coach, as we talked about, has it in the back of his head. No. We're going to be the St. Louis Blues. We're going to go on a storied run here and get ourselves back into playoff position. Goaltending is what tempts coaches into that sort of thinking. And Thatcher Demko is tempting Adam Foote with that sort of goaltending right now. It's if you're a tankist, of course, you're craving the goals. If you're Adam Foote, you're craving the saves. And we'll see which side wins here versus the Islanders tonight.
I feel like a tankist this morning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're just feeling low because of what last night happened. You're not feeling very optimistic in the world, I would guess.
No, frankly, I'm just tired and hungover.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about you. Don't get me wrong. I love Christmas Day, getting together with family. Now there are NFL games on Christmas Day. That's fun too. But I really enjoy the build-up, the Christmas season, because I wind up visiting with a lot of people that I don't otherwise visit with regularly.
Yeah.
The older I get, though, it is hard to muster the stamina for all the different places and ways you get pulled during the Christmas season.
The calorie intake on a
Blake
daily
and I,
basis.
Yeah.
Oof.
Like Blake and I have been out to dinner consecutive nights here with people. When has that ever happened?
Yeah.
And this was after being out earlier in the week and on the weekend. And tonight I got another dinner. And tomorrow we got the party at Greta.
It's a lot.
On and on it goes.
It's a lot.
Got to hydrate.
So in lieu of that, Matt, or in the wake of that, don't cook.
Get Uber Eats.
Valuable time wasted.
Yeah.
Let Uber Eats do all that work. You're busy running around getting ready for parties and all that. Order in.
Carmen is going off Sunday to visit family up in PG. Do you think there's any chance I'm cooking on a Sunday when I'm sitting down watching football and she's around? No.
Don't think it gets used. Gameday eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting people the holiday season. All the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. And there are some big games over the course of the holidays. Before, during, after the game, Uber Eats, assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long.
Bruce Garriock of Post Media in our nation's capital on Kiefer Sherwood saying he is attracting interest from the Bruins, Islanders, Lightning, Stars, and Flyers. Jimmy Murphy in Boston concurs on the Bruins side of things. They're going to get a first-hand look at him tomorrow. Boy, can you not see Sherwood in a Bruins sweater? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Pierre LeBrun saying the Wild actually made a trade offer for Kiefer Sherwood before the Quinn Hughes file picked up. He said this was a couple of weeks ago. And he says, as we've come to learn, Bill Guerin and the Minnesota Wild are all in. They are not leaving anything on the table this year. Never get out of the first round. You got Colorado and Dallas in the division, and Bill Guerin says, let's go.
That 2027 first rounder? Is that available? You've test-driven Quinn Hughes for a while. We think you owe us more. That should be the line from the Canucks.
27 first rounder. We want a middle round pick. And while you're at it, why don't you just send Judd Brackett back and you can have Patrick Alvin.
Right. That would work.
Braden Coots is centering the fourth line at Canada's World Junior Camp this morning. We had talked about how he had gotten good real estate from the coaching staff there earlier in the selection training camp. Either playing center. There's so many centers on this team, much like our Olympic team. Some centers are going to have to play wing, but they gave him opportunity at center ice with good wingers to start the camp. Then they moved him to the wing, still in the top six. It's the fourth line today playing alongside. And look, I think Cam Robinson has sort of been messaging this about, well, not sort of. Cam's been preparing us, I think, for this going forward, and it's not set in stone, and we have seen a number of times that the best laid plans by a coach to start the tournament, and the next thing you know, it's a gold medal game, and you're playing guys that you didn't suspect you'd be playing or were further down the line. I can think of Pat Quinn. The late Pat Quinn was 17-year-old Evander Kane at the World Juniors in 2009. Kane started as the 13th forward or down the lineup, and by the end, Evander Kane was trusted to play in all situations. Coots is centering a line with Liam Greentree and Sam O'Reilly. Greentree is a quintessential power forward type, 6'2", 215, first-round pick of the LA Kings, plays in OHL Windsor. And O'Reilly is viewed more as a responsible two-way for. He's a center as well, but he's playing right wing here. He was traded from the Oilers, who took him 32nd, final pick in the first round in 2024, moved him to Tampa Bay for Isaac Howard, who won the Hobie Bakers. So still good teammates because everybody on this team is good. But in a fourth-line role, and Cam Robinson has been saying because Coots is such a good two-way player and a character guy, and let's face it, perhaps he does not have the highest of high-end upsides offensive or highest of high-end offensive traits in comparison to some of the players who are on this team.
I think this was always a possibility, and I think the versatility of Coots is going to be great for Hunter, so I think he could be a second-line winger. He could be a fourth-line center. And I think it's all good news for Canucks fans. I don't know that you necessarily need to get picky about his deployment here at this World Junior. It's a very competitive roster. The fact that he's going to be there. And it looks like, so far, Matt, I would hazard a guess, he looks like he'll be in the lineup and dressed on the nightly basis.
Yep, I think so.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. And
this is a very competitive team. We talked about it yesterday. He made this team over a kid drafted 8th overall, 7 pecks in front of him.
And having covered this tournament for as long as I did, like the 13th forward on day one might be a top 6 guy by the end of the tournament.
No, exactly.
You can work your way up in mid-tournament.
For sure. Okay, let's get to today's menu.
I want to get to one more story before we go here. Ben Lipka, our friend Valley Way in Abbotsford is working on a story right now for the around the Abbotsford Canucks. Players have still not received Calder Cup rings, and no one seems willing to comment on when or if they will ever be getting Calder Cup rings.
Oh, please don't tell me ownership is cheaping out on that. Please tell me that isn't the story here. I mean, didn't Francesco even tweet about them and how proud he was?
Yep. So
come on.
This is an example of
I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but that's got
and that's the thing. I'll plead ignorance about the normal timeline for these sorts of things.
Ditto.
Don't know.
But it's usually
but
early the next season.
Ben reports that he had reached out as far back as December the 5th for comment, and they said they would get back to him. They have not gotten back to him, so this is 2 weeks later, and all they have to do say is, Matt, there will be more coming on. Sir, the players are getting rings. We'll have more information at a later date.
We're planning a ring ceremony, or
yes, date is yet to be announced.
Yeah,
like then the story dies, dead.
Yeah,
no scandal.
Oh, okay.
So even if they end up giving rings, great, but
please don't tell me.
Again, the communications of this franchise leaves so much to be desired.
No, but also a wise person said to me years ago, the Canucks don't understand goodwill. That because ownership exists in a world where everything is transactional, what falls by the wayside is goodwill. And frankly, the NHL at large is transactional. The NHL at large just isn't very good with people.
They had to be shamed into congratulating the other teams in this market.
Well, that's it.
Unbelievable.
Like the other teams, and particularly in the form of Thomas Müller and how much attention Müller got, but also just a big effort from Thomas Müller and the Whitecaps to engage with community. And then all of a sudden you start to see more community content on the Canucks channels. It's like, okay. Oh, that's...
Anyway, check in with Ben Lipka.
But that's,
the Abbotsford News.
It's little things like that get you on the wrong side with players, right?
Yeah.
Coach, like, if you're Manny, you achieved something last year. We'll see where that goes. They deserve championship rings, to say the least. That's what you play for, right? People talk about, let's get a ring.
That's your memento. You don't get to take the Calder Cup home.
Exactly.
That's your memento.
You're not in the building looking at the banner at all times.
No.
Let's get to today's menu. It is brought to you by our friends at Greta, and we're having a party there tomorrow. Blake and I need to recover. Doors at 3, puck drop at 4. It's a Christmas-themed party at Greta, so wear your holiday sweaters. Free to get in. Text to reserve your spot, 604-256-4022. That's 604-256-4022. Reserve your spot. 333 beers, 333 house shots. Menu items, nachos, wings, Greta Burger. Usually David Quadrelli MCs. He's got trivia in the intermission. Everybody who shows up will get a game card for the arcade that encircles the bar. Game for everybody. And, Quads usually has some gift cards for trivia winners. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is Greta Bar YVR, 50 West Cordova, and the Canucks Army Holiday Watch Party. Join us, doors at 3. Saturday. On the show today, we will speak to Jeff Merrick. Jeff joined us for our emergency show last Friday on the Quinn Hughes trade, but get more into it with Jeff today, including how often you can expect a player to go through a rebuild. This is the Brock Besser element that Blake was mentioning earlier. Also on Zeev Buium, who, needless to say, is an exciting young guy and the centerpiece of this Quinn Hughes deal. And then after that, oh my goodness, former Whitecaps FC head coach, the new head coach of the Halifax Wanderers, Mr. Vanni Sartini.
Coast to coast for Vanni.
Vanni took Blake and I to dinner the other night to his favorite pasta place in Vancouver. And needless to say, it was run by Italians. A matriarch named Maria, of course.
Casarecchio.
And so we sit down, and I'd passed the place many times. I mean, it's right near me in Kids. I thought it was more a cafe gelato place, but no. They do lunch and dinner, and Vanni swears by the pasta. And
it seats 12 people. So
honestly,
you're
there's
gonna
like
have
3
to get
tables. And we sit down, and like the menu only has pasta and sauces. That's it. Like there's no pizza, there's no Parmesan, there's no, think of an Italian restaurant, what's typically on the menu. No. This is pasta and this is sauces.
They've opened up a secondary location in Olympic Village, it should be noted, that does all that stuff.
So,
this one is the hardcore pasta joint.
Yeah. So we're sitting down, and Vanni looks at us, and this is like within a minute or two of being at the table, and he goes, if you guys don't mind, maybe I'll just order for the table. And then the next thing I know, there's an intense Italian conversation between Vanni and Maria. And the only word that I understand is famiglia. And I'm going, oh my God, a lot of food is about to hit this table. When they have to bring it with two hands, it's a full tray and it's like mountainous. It's bulbous in the middle. There was so much food. Blake and I both took home 2 full boxes. Like basically 2 full meals were brought home. So 4 full meals were brought home after we feasted on pasta with Vanni.
And those boxes weighed 12
Oh, yeah,
pounds
they weighed
each.
down the car.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little extra fuel consumed on the way home. Anyways, he's off to Halifax to coach the CPL team there. Needless to say, Vanni got his hooks into us as a person because he's just that level of human being, and Vancouver got its hooks into Vanni. So he's excited for the opportunity, but I think he's also, hey, everybody's sad leaving Vancouver. And then later in the program, that Seahawks-Rams game, which just put it in the time capsule. That's what NFL football is supposed to be. Truly one of the great games that I've ever seen. I mean, how often do you build up a game as this game was built up, and not only it delivers, but it over-delivers? And here's the other thing. 1-point game ending in a 2-point try in overtime last night. The Week 11 game, 2-point game decided on a last-second field goal miss. I mean, we need Ali Frazier 3 here,
A
don't
game
we?
decided
We need
by
the
a-
Thrilla and the Manila here, no?
A game decided by a field goal miss, followed by a game decided by a 2-point conversion. I mean, what in the world?
We need the trilogy.
And often those kinds of
in the
games, when those
postseason.
games are decided in crazy ways, it's 2 crappy teams where it's sort of like they can't execute, so craziness decides the game. It's the top 2 teams in the league, maybe.
Well, yes, but I don't know how you objectively look at that game.
It's not
And
Mona Lisa.
A, think that
No.
the Seahawks are better than the Rams, or B, think that Sam Darnold is going to win you a Super Bowl. I hate to be a wet blanket here, Seahawks fans, but let's understand what that was and what that wasn't.
I got
last
in a lot. I'm a Seahawks fan. I'll just be unabashed about that. I got in so much trouble with Seahawks fans for saying the Seahawks sucked and still won last night
I
on
know.
Twitter.
No, I tweeted in the middle of the game, I'm beginning to think the Rams are a better team than the Seahawks. And then I had people, including friends like Gary Mason and Jake Elliott, Seahawks fans, I guess, try dunking after the game. I'm like, guys, that ain't the droid you're looking for. This is not the tag old takes exposed. Not this one.
No.
Be giddy, be gleeful you got out of there with a win. But let's not play house and pretend here. There was one team last night that looked like a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
The other was the Seattle Seahawks. Atmosphere was amazing, too. You know, standalone game, Thursday night, Christmas season, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. Whitecaps making news as well. We will get into that later in the program. Super Draft. It was the Super Draft yesterday. BC Lions making news, too, with a homegrown player. All that coming up on the show. Okay, time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. I had the under last night. Somebody at the table was like, Matt, how's that under looking? Now, that's one where you can dunk.
I got mine.
Weather was actually didn't seem to cause the issues that we thought it might. So
Punting and kicking it did.
a little bit.
The punts
but
were very short for the Rams against the win there. And
Yeah.
it played into who chose what in overtime.
well, but
too.
here's the other thing. We talked about it mostly affecting the kicking game. There is principally less kicking game when guys are running wide open downfield all night, as was the case. Every time I looked up, there was a Ram running downfield, untouched.
Zach Charbonnet punched one in for me, though.
Yeah, I did.
It got me a good payout on my Bet365 from a couple days ago. So I'll do the honors early on here. And I'll look at the game coming up for the Vancouver Canucks. And it seems like it has been forever since we saw a quintessential Connor Garland game. Been banged up.
Oh, wow. I was looking at him, too.
And I'll just take an anytime goal. You need multiple points. And anytime goal for Connor Garland, plus 260 now. For a guy that started like gangbusters to start the season. Of course, he's been banged up and just has not been himself, but maybe it comes to fruition here on Long Island.
I was looking at that amongst a couple others, so why don't we go here? First time we're going to get a look at Matthew Schaefer versus the Vancouver Canucks, this first overall wonderkind. He likes to have the puck on his stick. In fact, he's second behind Quinn Hughes in terms of time per game with the puck on stick. I also think in this foot man check system, he's going to want to attack. He's aggressive. Matthew Schaefer to have 4 shots on goal tonight, pin at plus 215. I think the kid's going to put the puck on net. 215. Matthew Schaefer, 4 shots on goal. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Jeff Merrick coming up next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
Yeah, the segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It is a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles. Folks, this is the most fun you'll have driving a car. The pickup, so zippy. The cockpit, the intuitive dashboard, the beautiful screen is huge, but not overwhelming. And best of all, it's got that sports car feel with a very reasonable back seat and a hatch that fits all the equipment that you need, whether it be hockey, ski, golf clubs, and otherwise.
Goalie gear.
Get a bag of goalie gear in there. You can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from 109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today.
Here's Jeff Merrick, the sheet daily on the Nation Network.
Hello, gentlemen.
10 a.m. Pacific. Hello. How are you? Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah, all the same to you, your families, and same for all your listeners and viewers. You know what I was thinking about? I do this a lot. I don't know, maybe it's just a product of age. Sliding door moments, right? Like I was thinking about Matthew Schaefer earlier on this year, and the sliding door moment that allowed him to draft Matthew Schaefer first overall was the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets and a disallowed Kyle Palmieri goal. Okay, and that turned 2 points into 1 point, but it allowed the Islanders to get in one very specific position instead of the Rangers, win the lottery, and select first overall. That's the moment. That is kind of the moment where Islanders fans isolate as the sliding door moment, right? If that call is good, it's full 2 points for the Islanders, off to the races. They don't get in a position to draft Matthew Schaefer first overall. I can't help but wondering if the sliding door moment here for the Vancouver Canucks to get Zeev Boyum, to get this deal done, was the Vegas draft and Anaheim taking Beckett Seneca at third overall. And then the subsequent fall down the standings for Zeev Boyum. Because there were a lot of people, and a lot of people say, oh no, Anaheim, this is, and might have just been a smoke screen. Obviously it was, they took Seneca. But there was a lot of belief that he was going third overall. If Anaheim takes Zeev Boyum, that Minnesota deal doesn't get done.
No.
It doesn't. So is that the sliding door moment that allowed that trade to happen? Maybe.
And for those who don't remember, Beckett Seneca, third overall.
Shock.
Even Beckett Seneca was shocked. You remember his reaction in the crowd? Like he had no clue. Like he wasn't prepared for that.
Even his family, and they always think kid's going first overall.
I know.
I love you, kid, but third?
Yeah. And of course, Bliam, Anaheim would have been as close to a hometown team, right, as a San Diego kid.
Do you think Vancouver doesn't do the deal if in that universe they offer Juracek instead of Bliam?
There's no chance that gets done if it's Juracek. No way. No way, no chance. No. Like, the thing that I'm most curious about, and I think Bill Guerin has said, like, I made my first and best offer right away. I don't know. I not that I'm saying that Bill Guerin is being dishonest, but just knowing the nature of how discussions go with trades, it kind of felt like if you're Minnesota, maybe you open up with Rossi and Ogren and a first-round pick. Vancouver dismisses it right away, and you say, because I can't see Minnesota wanting to put Zeev Boyum in this deal. Like, he's that good of a defenseman with potential is sky high. And I can see Bill Guerin just saying, you know what, much like he did with Kaprizov when the first contract was rejected, and he just said, all right, fine, give him what he wants. I just wonder if Bill Guerin was like, all right, you know what, give Jimmy what he wants. He wants to see, boy, we want to, like, there's that sort of Ed Snyder, Bobby Clark element to this. Yeah, we gave up a lot. Yeah, Vancouver got some really nice pieces. They got Zeev Boyum as well, but we got the player in this deal. Because nobody else was prepared to go that far, right? Detroit was probably the closest, but nobody else was prepared to go, and that's why I give the Vancouver Canucks a softer landing than some on the Quinn Hughes deal, because nobody else was offering anything like that.
Incidentally, your sliding doors moment involving Kyle Palmieri reminds me of a goal we should have talked about 3 weeks ago when he, with a torn ACL, commits the stick check, and his last seconds on the season sets up the goal because the defenseman didn't know that he was behind the play with a torn ACL. That was, I mean, honestly, one of the best moments of the National Hockey League season so far. But we digress.
No, but hang on a second here. There is something to that, because like that was incredible. And we're just 24 hours out of celebrate, or 48 hours of celebrating Leon Draisaitl's 1,000 point with the Edmonton Oilers, and now we've got a 1,000-point German in the NHL. I still think that was one of the most remarkable displays that I ever saw in the playoffs. How essentially Leon Draisaitl played on one leg with the Achilles injury, and if you talk to guys that I've never had anything close to that. But they'll tell you, like, every single time you take a step or a stride, it just burns all the way up. Like, I cannot understand. Like, take what Palmieri did and then play an NHL playoff series, Stanley Cup playoff series on that. I get it. Man, getting to the boards the way that he did, and having the mental, I'm still with it, to make that play is awesome. But I'll still take Leon Draisaitl. And playing against the LA Kings on the best stationary player in the NHL. Leon Draisaitl.
I want to, and for those who missed it, Jeff joined our emergency podcast and show on Friday post Quinn Hughes trade. It was awfully late out east, so thank you for jumping on there, bud.
No problem.
No expectation of that. That's just how great a teammate Jeff Merrick is. Okay, he may or may not have been.
Hang on a second. Yeah, there's also an old saying in our industry, and it goes like this: "There's no I in team, but there's 2 I's in invoice." And don't think that I didn't send one over to Mike Rogerson, ladies and gentlemen.
That's good.
No, of course, man. Things like, but these are just like the again, like I think that anybody in our group would have done the same thing. Like there are just some times where it's all hands on deck, and there's no like, oh, I can't do this. I'm here at my kid's game. Oh, I can't do this. We just sat down for dinner, or, oh, I'm going to tuck in early. No, like when something major like that happens, I think first of all, just from an ego point of view, all of us want to be attached to the biggest story. Like just from a broadcast point of view, whenever the biggest story happens, like we're all trying to find cameras and microphones so we can weigh in on it. So,
and it's the biggest story, Jeff. As you know, within this digital world, and I won't take people too far beyond the curtain, but we've got immediate data on audience response. This Quinn Hughes trade and all the days that would come after are double the biggest stories of years gone by. We're talking JT Miller trade. We're talking all that Miller-Pettersson stuff. We're talking Oilers, Canucks, Game 7. This doubling all of that. That's the gravitas of the moment here.
Well, the thing about it is like there was like sort of like this Hansel and Gretel breadcrumb trail sort of all the way along too. Like we all knew this was going to hit a terminal point. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. And then when it did, again, part of this is it was just a surprise of it being the Minnesota Wild and not the New Jersey Devils or the Carolina Hurricanes or the Detroit Red Wings or the Rangers or any of the teams that made, somewhat significant offers, but nobody could beat Bill Guerin. Like this was like a great mystery novel, right? Like this is right out of the pages. I'm going to date myself here because I read so much of her work when I was a kid. I used to go to Annette Library in the West End of Toronto, and every week I'd get another Agatha Christie novel. Welcome to me as a kid, Murder on the Orient Express. But this is what this was like. It was a great sort of mystery story that went all the way. We all knew that it was coming eventually. We just didn't know when it was going to end or what the return was going to be. We were talking about this, during the Pettersson JT Miller. It was always like, yes, there's this, and then there's also what is the JT Miller Elias Pettersson scandal going to mean for the future of Quinn Hughes thing?
Yes,
every single thing that they did, it was the coach hiring, it was re-signing Thatcher Demko, it was bringing back Brock Besser, like all these things. We sort of all looked under this umbrella of what does this mean for Quinn Hughes and the Vancouver Canucks? So that's why I'm not surprised at all that all the metrics sort of point at this is the most massive story. No surprise at all.
What are your people from around the league, your network, what are they saying about all this?
That Bill Guerin's got a really good shot at re-signing him. And I think one of the most telling things was, when Quinn Hughes first spoke, he talked about, I'm paraphrasing here, but the spirit of the thing. Because Quinn knows what the offers were, according to his agent, Pat Brisson, that there were some teams that sort of wouldn't go the extra mile to bring him in, and Bill Guerin did, and that means a lot to him. And, listen, Bill Guerin has the chance to sign him under the terms of what is soon going to become the old CBA. And there's a lot of advantages that are going to vanish on September the 15th. And the other thing too is Minnesota was already a fun watch. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've watched more, even before Quinn Hughes, I've watched more Minnesota Wild games this year than I have in a long time. Like it's interesting. I used to always watch Vancouver and Vegas, or Minnesota and Vegas, because for whatever reason, the style of those two teams always made great games, regular season games. They were always fantastic. But this year, as we all bounce around every single night, I find myself staying on Minnesota games longer and longer and longer. Probably the team that I've watched the most this year, I would probably say maybe either Minnesota or Colorado. But and it's a team now that just became even more watchable. How far will this take them? How good can they get? Like, can they beat Dallas in the opening round? Everybody wants first place in the Central, obviously, but can they win a first round series here against another giant in the Dallas Stars? I don't think Bill Guerin's done. I still think there's another shoe to drop here, at least one, but it's going to be a fun ride. Like, this is going to continue to be a fun team to watch as they try to finally lurch forward and take the next step with this organization. So the main thing is like, there's first of all, main thing, big Stones year for Bill Guerin. This is like him as a general manager planting his flag. This is like the moment Bill Guerin arrived. That's the big one.
I agree with all that. I do wonder if there's a risk of grinding Hughes into a nub still, even on a better team. He played 32 minutes last night, and that was a multi-goal win. I mean, they were protecting a one-goal lead in the third, but 32 minutes with the lead.
See, that's why Marek watches them so much, because now they got a player like that playing more than half the game. How can you turn off Quinn Hughes?
They're a fun team to watch. I mean, I love Matt Boldy too, and Kaprizov does something every game that brings you out of your seat. If you're John Hines, how do you not just keep firing him out there, though?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're the Minnesota Wild, like, and again, like, it's not just, okay, we have a good playoff team now. Now it's like, we don't want to be second or third. If we got a shot at finishing first overall and getting an easier first round opponent, that's what Dallas is thinking. And that's what Minnesota is thinking too. It's like, okay, eventually Colorado has to sometime come back down to earth, right? And who's going to be there to gobble up those points? And so that's why I think you're going to see, as much as to your point, Blake, you're gonna grind them down here to just dust and feathers. How do you not keep firing Quinn Hughes out there? You got a Ferrari in your driveway, man. How do you not open it up and go for a spin?
Exactly.
Why not?
People here are worried the Canucks won't stick to their rebuild guns here. That they're talking a lot about rebuild in the aftermath of this trade, but they just can't help themselves and will try and get more competitive quickly. What do you think? We're finally hearing Rutherford use the word rebuild. He says the owner is on board, which would be the first time ever the owner is on board in 20 years of all of this. But are we sitting here next year talking about a young, plucky, rebuilding, perhaps even in ascension, young group of Vancouver Canucks, or do you think that this trade signaled just a change of course in terms of who your star player is, but a same organizational philosophy of competitive every year?
Probably doing it on a different timeline. I mean, it all comes down to, we get so hung up on the semantics of all of this, right? And everybody assumes that rebuild means, take it down to the studs and start from zero. We think of rebuilds, we think of like San Jose and Chicago, like take it right down to a blank page and build it up from there. I think that what Vancouver wants to do here is kind of not unlike what Pittsburgh is trying to do. And that is, sure, we want to restock some draft capital and prospects, but we're really interested in young players. Right. And I think that's why, and we've already seen some of the swings that Vancouver has taken to try to bring in younger players that, second chance guys, right? So change of scenery guys. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Look at all the players that Kyle Dubas and the Penguins have burned through already as they try to take a swing at not taking this all the way down to the nuts and bolts, but try to speed it up a little bit. So a lot of those younger players can still get the rub of playing with Sidney Crosby and being around Sidney Crosby and being in the room with Sidney Crosby, et cetera, et cetera. So when we say rebuild, first of all, the smart ass in me says every team is always rebuilding. Like if you really want to focus on what a rebuild, every team rebuilds. So Glenn Sather would always talk about that Oilers team in the 80s that won Stanley Cups every year. And he'll still say, like, you got to change 10 to 15% just to keep it fresh. I mean, every team is in a process of rebuilding. It's only how deep you go. And I don't think that Vancouver wants to do the San Jose route, but maybe closer to what the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing. We're not going to completely mortgage a future. We're not giving away first-round picks, but we'd really be interested in a lot of these trades to get younger players as opposed to just green bananas for the draft. We're still not in that business yet.
So will they do a deep enough cut to actually get rid of a veteran? We sure
this
would.
This is what we're asking
sure
this
would.
week.
That's a fait accompli. So. But how would you dare on Besser, Garland, Demko?
Besser, no move.
I mean, I would. And to the point about Besser too is, I think you can. I've talked a lot about this with Nashville over the last couple of years. I think you can expect a player, considering how short careers are, I think you can expect a player to sit through one rebuild. But I think it's too much to ask a player to sit through two. Careers aren't long, right? They're not long. I think you go to Besser and you say, look, we'd love it if you stayed here. We need players. Okay, and we need like good role models and examples for all these kids, but understand that we are going through a rebuild. Now, it's not going to be the San Jose rebuild. It's going to be a little bit older than that, but make no mistake about it, we are going through a rebuild here. Do you still want to be part of this? Because this will be your second rebuild of your career. You're sacrificing a lot of your years for this. And if you want to, that's great. We're happy to have you. But I think if you're Rutherford Alvin, you go to your vet players and say, do you want to go through another one? Because that's where we're headed right now. I think that's the sage move to do.
And that initial build was also a leaky condo. So we owe you, we didn't do right by you that first time around.
We got to put a proper roof over your head, son.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I know how much.
What I mean? Like,
yeah, no, makes sense.
I don't think reasonably you can ask a player to sit through two rebuilds. I think that's too. One, sure. Two, no way. But the other thing too is like, I do wonder, like for all the people, the cynical people in Vancouver, I see you. Because there is a part of me that says, I wonder if this is going to be like the Rangers rebuild, where they sent the letter out and then in their minds they were rebuilding, and then 5 minutes later, we'll take our time at Panarin.
Yes.
And then you justify it by saying, well, rebuilds are about getting good players, and he's a good player, and we got a good player, etc. So I do come at it with a sideways glance based on.
You're right to be skeptical. Mm-hmm. You're right to be skeptical.
By the way, I know how much you love these little hockey stories. Did you catch that bit this week that Lori Besser called up Ellen Hughes and was like, if Quinn needs anything while he's here in the Twin Cities, he can feel free to home cooked meals, some laundry.
Yeah.
But
listen,
a billet.
I'll tell you, exactly. But at the same time too, like I loved hearing. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old and sappy. But like, I loved hearing Brock talk about Quinn and being like one of his only teammates at his dad's funeral.
Well, what I loved about it is like the one thing that Brock has done here that not a lot of hockey players do, Jeff. Brock has been so willing to show vulnerability and share himself and really his whole family with Canucks fans. Like there was a moment. So like very few hockey players. So 1 year ago, Taylor Swift finished her Eras tour here at BC Place with 3 shows. Huge deal, right? Like everyone in town was talking about it. Somebody asked Brock about Swift, and he said something along the lines of, blah, blah, well, I think you'd be hard-pressed to argue that anyone else is the songwriter of our time like she is or something like that. He called her like the songwriter of our generation. And I'm sitting there, and like Blake and I looked at each other, like reading it, and we're like, how many hockey players, even if they believed that, would articulate about a female pop star whose core demo is, teenage girls?
Yes.
Brock,
how many?
Brock is so comfortable and he's so willing to just be honest with everybody like that. He just spits that out and answers the question as he feels it, as opposed to thinking, oh, God, what am I supposed to say here, in terms of hockey culture in the room? And, maybe the fellas are going to tease me if it doesn't care.
Let me give you one genuine guy. First of all, genuine guy, comfortable enough that he can share that, feels that he's an environment. Like, to me, hearing Brock Besser talk like that, A, is wonderful. B, is a real compliment to the city of Vancouver, where you feel like you're in an environment where you're okay to talk like that, right? And there's not looking down your nose and, he needs to focus less on Taylor Swift and more on trying to get the 40 goals and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing that I always wonder about. Brian Berkey's story for you. Berkey's, because I wonder if like a 17-year-old kid was asked about Taylor Swift at the Combine, how he would respond to Matt, exactly what you're talking about. Oh, what's the hockey guy going to think? Berkey would always tell me, because he would always try to trip guys up. And when we were working together at Sportsnet doing the Combine every year, I always loved it, watching Berkey talk to the kids, because, me and Cosentino would be blah, 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 stats this and teams that and all that. But Berkey would go into like GM mode, and it was fascinating to watch. And some of the tricks he would always use is, what kind of dog do you have? And if the family had a small dog, the kid would never want to say it because he wants to have like a big, tough, mean, aggressive dog. But he said the other one, you guys will love this. The other one that he used to always use on prospects was, what kind of watch do you have? And the kid would never say that he had like a really expensive watch because he didn't want to seem entitled, but he also didn't want to have like a really cheap watch either. So he said, the kid would get totally off guard if he asked a question about it, because kids would be prepared for a lot of questions. Okay, they're going to ask about this, but Berkey would be like, all right, what kind of watch you have, kid?
Well, and the best thing about Berkey in those questions is he still does it with a frown on his face.
Yeah. So you
don't know what you're doing. You can't read it. You don't.
Yeah. We have a Tibetan Mastiff named Bo and a Chihuahua named Daisy.
And be right, like Blake's right. Like he's got that. Let's get ready to grumble as I always call it.
But it's about your watch, so you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Exactly.
I
Okay.
remember. By the way, I just a quick one final thing. When we talked to, this would have been the Dallas draft, so Rasmus Dahlin, Andrei Svechnikov. He asked Andrei Svechnikov how often he worked out, and then he asked him where he worked out. And I remember asking him afterwards, I'm like, why'd you ask him that? And he goes, because he was playing for the Barrie Colts. He goes, Barrie's the only rink in the OHL that doesn't have a gym in the arena. I wanted to see if he was bullshitting me or not.
Oh, interesting.
Very good.
Like, the GM comes
Very
out.
good.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the NFL teams, Jeff. So when they're interested in a quarterback in particular, they'll give them a playbook pre-draft and say, okay, in a week we want to catch up on this. And they'll like tape $100 bill to the final page to see if the kid gets to the final page. And also as kind of an honesty test,
does he keep it?
Does the kid keep the $100 or does the kid, say, oh, by the way, there was a $100 bill set. Anyways, Easter egg time.
That's good.
Easter egg time. Right. The World Juniors at Christmas, a tradition unlike any other.
Mm-hmm.
There is one Canadian World Junior player who won 3 consecutive gold medals. Who is that player? Hint number 1, 20 years ago. Hint number 2, current NHL GM.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I've got a
94, 95, 96.
Can I
3 straight golds for this player and for
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
I'm just going to do a calculus. Mike Greer?
Jeff? Right conference, wrong guy.
Okay.
And he's currently a general manager.
Even the right coast.
Current general manager. Oh, God.
Hockey family. His sister.
Oh, Jason Botterill.
Very good.
Oh, just right here.
Jason Botterill.
Didn't have the most splendid NHL career.
Well, that's the only way
player.
he plays a 19-year-old, right? Or is it? So.
But 17, 18, 19 years old, 94, 95, 96. 3 straight gold.
Good enough to get there as an underager twice and not elite enough
to graduate out at 19.
Yeah.
Yep. Jeff, you've been awesome this year, buddy. We've really, really enjoyed connecting with you and speaking to you on a weekly basis. So thank you for everything from S&P here in 2025.
Best,
we
man.
look forward to 2026 already, my man.
Yes, this is always a highlight of my week. Usually I learn something and I always have a good laugh too. And it's always, you can always sort of judge because we all do a million of these things. Like when you come away feeling good, like, that was fun. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever come away from one where I've said, man, that wasn't a ball. So thank you guys.
We take people behind the curtain. We record these with Jeff early on a Friday morning because he's got a show to do. And you're so right. Like, our Friday gets off like a rocket ship because we have this fantastic chat with you. First thing upon landing. Yeah, exactly.
Have a great episode of The Sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
look forward to it, buddy.
Be good.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, gentlemen.
Secure some price from the historic Wall Center. Our next guest became famous in this town for wearing a Home is Vancouver t-shirt. Well, our favorite Italian citizen of the world is wandering to Halifax.
Home is no longer Vancouver.
Now Halifax. And we're delighted to be joined by the former head coach of Vancouver Whitecaps FC, the new head coach of the Halifax Wanderers of the CPL, the one and only Mr. Vanni Sartini.
Thank you, guys. Very good. By the way, home is where the heart is. So
yes,
Vancouver. So that's the thing.
Fair enough.
I was gonna say, like, Vancouver got its claws in you and Barbara. Huh? This is gonna be tough to say goodbye.
It is. Like it's already. It's good to be. I'm extremely busy at the moment because of course, organizing the move and then starting to building the team for next year. So it's not sank in the fact that we need to leave the city, but it will be that day will be a little bit emotional for sure.
Well, congratulations on the gig.
Yes.
It's nice to keep you in Canada at the very least, and to keep you on a coast because us coastal communities stick together. Halifax is a great town. Tell us how it all came together. How long have you been talking with them?
Not too much, actually. Derek Martin, that is the owner and the CEO of the club, contacted me. Now it's kind of a month, maybe a little bit more than a month ago, asking me if I was interested to talk with them about the project. And I say yes, why not? Every time that I was watching the CPL games on TV, the atmosphere at Halifax for me was the coolest atmosphere in the league, and I knew that because I remember them coming to Vancouver for the training camp, so I had a lot of talk with the staff there, that they were always talking like very good about how the environment was around the team. So I was extremely interested at the beginning, and then the second phase was when they explained to me the project. It's just like they say that the team has done really well so far, and now they want to do next step and try to win a championship. And so I would say that was like the cherry on top on the fact that it's not only the big I would say wheel that I have to get back on the field, but also to try to do something historical.
I know you were looking elsewhere, but Canada was a priority for you, right, Vanni?
Yes, of course, having coached in the MLS for the last few years, and gotta be honest, even thinking that I haven't done that bad of a job, I was trying to stay in the league, and the ideal thing would have been stay in the league and stay in the country. So it's very hard because there's only other two clubs in the league. So the second layer was, okay, let's try to stay in the league, and I had talks. I can even say that because it came out even publicly that I was the finalist for the New England Revolution job and the Colorado Rapids job, and those talks, they didn't go through. Actually, the Colorado thing was still a little bit alive when I decided to go with Halifax. But at the same time, I said that any other opportunities that I had, I was not considering. So, I had some little opportunity from Europe, some interest from USL club in the United States. I say, if I couldn't stay in the MLS, that the league that I was coaching, my priority was to try to stay here in the country. So I'm really, really happy that I had this CPL opportunity.
CPL net zero teams. They lose Winnipeg, but they add Montreal this year. And there are other bright lights too. The final gained such notoriety. Yeah. And not only because it was a spectacle to watch because of the snow, I think it would have got some notoriety then too. But there was a couple of cracker goals. One in particular, the icicle kick. Beautiful. I mean, that brings some good attention to that league, doesn't it? Where people see that it's a very good quality, and there's a lot of growth here, a lot of growth potential.
Yeah. I would say the CPL is having, in my opinion, if you have completely honest, like a two faces kind of moment in this at this moment now. Like there's a lot of growth on the pitch. I think the quality of the game is always, I would say, better every year. And you've seen also in the results of the CPL team in the Canadian Championship in the last few years. So last year, 3 out of 4 CPL teams that were in the semifinal, only the Whitecaps were from the MLS teams. Like the last year, Cavalry beat Pumas in Calgary in the Champions Cup. So that's like the quality of the league is getting high. At the same time, it's because I think probably the nature of the country where we live. You were saying before, I'm staying in the same country, but I'm going basically 5,000 kilometers away. It's really hard to create a league that is going to be easily sustainable if it's for every team. The cost of traveling are a lot. So unfortunately, during the year, they added 2 teams, the one in Vancouver and the one in Montreal, but they lost 2 teams, one in Edmonton and one in Winnipeg. And I think that the future, we need to be optimistic because the quality of the game is growing, but at the same time, we'll need to hope that we're going to add some new teams in the future too.
Okay, on to international soccer. How do you feel about your Italians getting out of that qualifying group and facing Canada in the first match of the World Cup next year in Toronto?
I feel optimistic. I'm always an optimist. So, probably I'm not. I feel optimistic. I think that, they have to win 2 games. I think that the clear favorite for the first game will play home against Northern Ireland. And then on the other game, I think we are probably a favorite, whoever we're going to play, a 55-45, something like this, 60-40, no more. So I hope that they will do the job done. It's also, there's a lot of intangible and variables because the games will be in March and you don't know, you can miss your best players in those two games because of injury or something. But in any case, the first game of the World Cup will have the team that I root for in the World Cup. So if Italy is there, I will root for Italy. If Italy is not there, my team will be Canada. So that game, I'm gonna watch the game for sure.
Yeah, we'll miss you here during the World Cup next June, Vanni. To be just around that atmosphere and that environment, for soccer people, that's got to be something special.
No, it's going to be fantastic. The league will stop for a couple of weeks during the World Cup. So maybe if, again, we were able to find places to go to see games, maybe we can even do a little visit to Vancouver too, because I'm really, I would say, thinking about all the fans coming from all around the world, coming here to see the games. The fan zone that they will do at the PNE is going to be probably beautiful. And I think so this year has been fantastic for the sport in Vancouver. The Whitecaps did a fantastic season. You had a Canadian Championship final. There was the 2 teams from Vancouver, and it showed how the sport is important to the city. I think next year is going to be probably, I don't know, cherry on top to show that maybe we can become like a soccer city, not a hockey city. I don't know, maybe for the future.
Maybe. You said fantastic Whitecap season there, Vanni, which is big of you. You would be forgiven of having all sorts of different feelings watching the Whitecaps this season. But how would you summarize, how you watched the Whitecap season, and if you did?
Hey, I did. I watched watching the league closely. I probably watched 2/3 of the games of the Whitecaps. It's the only thing is and also because I miss you so much, Blake. So I needed to feel your commentary. That's the thing.
Hear my voice. Yes.
Yeah. And no, I think they did fantastically. The season was, in my opinion, the first half of the season was, I don't know. I think it's going to be very, very hard to replicate. The first 5 months that they had, the quality of the game that they played, the results that they had, they were by far the best team in North America, in my opinion. Then, gotta be honest, after probably after the 2 things happened, they lost the final in Mexico, in all the way that we know they lost the final with all the drama behind the classic of the Mexico teams and before it, and then they had a lot of players missing for international Gold Cup, and at the same time also I think because of the fact that they did too well in the first part of the season, so they had to play too many games. They had also a lot of injury too, and so the second part of the season was a little bit harder for them to do it on the same quality, I would say. So the quality went a little down. The result, they stay okay, and then I think it played a big part this time, the club, because when the season became a little bit harder in the second part, they step up massively, and they signed, one of the, I don't know, probably 5 top player of the 21st century, and so only having Thomas Müller at the training pitch, it's going to raise the level of the training. Having Thomas Müller on the field is going to raise the level of the game, and that's, I think, helped them to have that magic final run to go to the final. Because again, in terms of quality of the game, was the first half was I would say much better in my opinion.
He does play the same. There's no downside to having Thomas Müller. I think we've established that. But he does play the same position effectively as Ryan Gauld.
Yeah.
Next year, you get airdropped in. You got to make a starting 11 here, Vanni, for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Where the heck do you play everybody? If Ryan Gauld, and this is a big assumption, I think, assuming Ryan Gauld can start match 1, week 1, how do you make it all work?
I think it's gonna be like a fun part for Jesper Sorensen and his staff to figure it out, the tactical setup in order to put the best 11 players on the field. I would say that the luck that they have, in my opinion, is that, as you said, hopefully Ryan is going to be like 100% and he's going to be playing like he was playing till last year. That was like, one of the top players of the league. The luck that they have is the attitude of Ryan Gauld. So Ryan Gauld is like, I actually, when they were saying the final was like Thomas Müller against Leo Messi, I was hoping that the decisive goal was a Ryan Gauld goal.
Right.
So that's because that's the real, I would say, in my opinion, MLS, I would say story would have been. But the luck that they have is that Ryan is I called it the working class DP, because he can adapt to play even in that position. He's not the classic number 10 that I can only play number 10. He's someone who can easily play on a winger. He can easily play 10 meters behind, and he's not shy to do the work defensively. So I assume that, of course, they will want to preserve Müller in the number 10 position. So, it's not a bad thing to have another top player that is not shy to do the defensive work next to him.
I saw your quote last week when you were announced as Halifax head coach about, the Whitecaps season. It's like you planned the party but weren't invited. I know it. There were moments this year that must have been difficult watching all this, but I also know you're a coach at heart, my friend, and I'm sure you took some pride in watching some of these guys raise their level yet again and improve and become key pieces on this Whitecaps side.
Yeah. Of course. Like, I'm really happy that. So I work with the majority of them, and see my trajectory that brought them from obscure, I would say, MLS player, or a piece of trade like Tristan Blackmon that LAFC didn't confirm, and Charlotte gave it to us in an expansion draft because they didn't think it was like a piece that was functional to them, and then now winning defender of the years and debuting in the men's national team. Sebastian Berhalter, that is, I would say probably it should be like I don't know. They should do like one of these public commercial, for how dedication could bring you to excellence and to success. But Ali too, I think he reached next level this season, and also the guys that were already top player before, like Brian White. Or Andres Cubas or Yohei Takaoka. So I'm very happy. And also I'm very happy, of the staff. I know that since the staff stayed the same of last year, they played a key role, especially because for someone from Europe to come to the MLS, it's a completely different world. And to make sure that the transition was seamless and that Jesper could bring his own idea without disrupting anything, but keeping the process in the same way, I think that's a huge shout out that should be done to, Mike D'Agostino, Brendan Shaw, John Pauly, Youssef Daha, all the guys that were there for years, and they contributed with their work to the success of this season.
Lastly, and Mike's got the visual here. So Blake and I see eye to eye professionally on certain things. One of them is that we tend to keep professional distance with the people we cover, right?
Yes.
Cordial, friendly. If you do happen to find yourself out with them, yeah, fair enough. But you don't set out and make social plans with them.
Verboten.
No. Well, there are certain people that they get their claws into you. And you just can't quit them.
You're the one exception, Vanny.
And there we are, Wednesday night at dinner at Vanny's favorite pasta restaurant in Vancouver. And believe it or not, he knows a good pasta place or two, this man. Thank you for being great with us, Vanny, as head coach of Whitecaps. You were always accommodating, always pleasant, always insightful to talk to. But you've also you've become a dear friend. So we will miss you in Halifax. We thank you for all the time.
Now we've got a favorite CPL team to call our own here.
Exactly.
Despite a couple here as well.
We wish you and Barbara all the best in Halifax, and do want to make a point to visit each and every time you're back here in Vancouver.
I
Merry
will.
Christmas.
Me too. Thanks for everything, guys. I'll miss you too, but I'll come back to play in Vancouver a lot of times. So
yes, please do. And like that was our last supper, so to speak. But for those who don't know, Vanny, tell the story of your farewell with the Whitecaps supporters, because that was just an unbelievable scene, as you described it.
Last year was when they got the news of my departure from the Whitecaps. All the supporters organized actually a farewell party for me and Barbara. So we went to one of the pub where the supporters go every time before the game or when they watch the game when the Whitecaps are away, and hundreds of people show up. It was a fantastic thing. And even now, like I gotta be honest, I received an amount of congratulation and love from the Whitecap supporters on my social, or even on the fans that I met in Halifax. They already say, "Oh, a lot of people from Vancouver. They told us that you're gonna be great." Blah blah. So it's I always say that this game doesn't mean anything without fans and without people who follow the game. And this, for me, is the demonstration of it again. That it's that's the reason why you were saying it before at the beginning. Home is Vancouver. Vancouver will be home forever for us.
You're going to be great. Thanks for doing this. Yeah. And we will cross paths down the road.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thanks, Vanny.
Happy New Year, guys. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Sicarson Price from the Historic Wall Center, the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio, built by Arbor Lee. Big game downtown. Make it more than just tonight. Make it a memory. Stay steps from the action here at the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you some blackout date supply based on availability. The buildup was so huge, the Rams Seahawks couldn't possibly deliver, right?
And in a lot of ways, they didn't, Matt. I mean, the weather tamped down a lot of potentially exciting plays. Well, there were still some big plays. I shouldn't say that. There were still some big plays.
Yeah.
I mean,
how often?
I meant to the first three quarters.
How often does a game get that much hype going in and then over deliver?
Yeah.
Holy cow. I mean, pin it to the top of the NFL Films social media feed. You will be seeing highlights of this game the rest of your life.
It was something. It was something. And I don't know how to look at this game and think, okay, the Seahawks played terribly for three quarters.
I mean, Sam Darnold versus the LA Rams is still a really bad thing.
It's a bad thing, and yet he was electric in the fourth and overtime. Okay, so are you lucky? You could take two stances here. They were lucky to win. That just won't cut it in the playoffs. Or do you say good teams find a way? Resilient, they found a way.
All of the above.
It's just all of it?
All of the above.
Just paste it all to the...
No. Blake, play that game 100 times. How many times does Seattle win? Once?
Yeah. I mean...
I mean...
And here's the thing.
And we'll get to it.
The previous game too, Matt. They did not play 4 interceptions the last game, and they lost by 2 points. Like, they've played this team terribly, and they could be 2-0. There's a universe where they're 2-0. There's many universes where they're 0-2. But they also could be 2-0.
38-37 in overtime, a 16-point comeback in the final 8 minutes. The Rams become the first team in NFL history to lose with 500-plus yards of offense, 0 turnovers, and forcing 3-plus turnovers from their opponent. Seattle becomes the first team in NFL history to win an overtime game on a 2-point conversion. You and I were stunned by that.
Crazy.
Would have thought at some point, somebody goes for 2 in an overtime.
Okay, but in week 5, they don't go for 2, right?
Well,
they went for 2.
You had already lost to the Rams, so you needed to beat them. Like,
right.
A tie was not going to do
There was
you any
more
good.
on the line than your week 5 scenario.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, in his last 3 games against the Rams, 2 of them this year as Seahawks quarterback, 1 in the playoffs last year as Minnesota Vikings quarterback, 7 interceptions and 11 sacks taken. Then there's this. I mean, if your game is going to live forever, it needs to be more than just a good game, great game. It needs a signature play.
There needs to be a crazy nuance to the
immaculate
proceedings.
reception, Tyree catch,
Yeah.
Julian Edelman, the double catch in the Super Bowl, something like that. Well, this one comes in the form of Zach Charbonnet's nonchalant pickup of a football in the end zone on a play that everybody thinks is dead.
He thinks it's a retrieval of the scoring instrument.
No, he's like just picking it up to do the official a favor. Like, the ball's laying down here. I guess I ought to pick it up and hand it to the ref. Mopey, off to the sidelines. We're down 2. No.
Nope.
So technically it is a lateral and a recovery for a 2-point conversion. And here's the thing. That play only happens, that ruling only happens because there is a special carve-out in the NFL rule book addressing laterals and fumbles in the final 2 minutes of a game. Because in the final 2 minutes of the game, a fumble cannot be advanced by anyone on the fumbling team other than the guy who fumbles it. However, a lateral is carved out as a distinction because, of course, they want the Cal Stanford band play where everybody's, throwing the ball backwards, trying to get that score. But if it's just a fumble, ball's dead, game over.
If
because
Kenneth Walker,
it's a lateral,
if it's a handoff to Kenneth Walker,
and he drops the ball,
and he boots it forward to Charbonnet, no dice.
No. If it's a fumble, it goes back to the spot of the fumble. That's it. But a backwards pass hitting the ground, technically a fumble, is allowed to be advanced.
So this is to prevent the rules there so that you don't intentionally put the ball on the ground and just
correct.
boot it
That's
ahead.
Correct. The rule is there for an intentional fumble, kicked forward, pushed forward, propelled forward, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Sean McVay in the postgame said, has never seen anything like that, never been a part of any kind of ruling 2-point conversion with those factors at play. And the number 1 seed may have been decided because a guy randomly picks up a dead ball, thinking nothing of it.
What would have happened if the ref would have picked that up? Like they thought it was over. Would they have done it again?
I think it would have been a mistake on the part of the official, but I think as soon as the referee or as soon as an official picks up a ball, that's it. Like play dead. Sorry, Seattle, our bad, but
well, remind me though, official interference.
We talked
We
about
talked
this
about this the
yesterday.
other day.
Officials are part of the field. It is your responsibility to avoid them at all times, even if they're in the wrong position, even if they make a mistake.
I mean, picking up the ball is not interference.
No, exactly. No,
that's,
I mean
that's them
that's
interfering.
the thing. Like, if the side judge or the line judge beats Charbonnet to the ball, that's it. Here's the other thing.
Destiny.
So your average NFL game, it has about 24 possessions, about 12 per side, about 3 per quarter, per team.
Mm-hmm.
There were 11 possessions in the fourth quarter alone of this game. Seattle stops the Rams 5 times in the fourth quarter, allowing for the comeback. And here's the thing. Rams scored a touchdown on their first possession of the fourth. They possessed the ball 6 times in the fourth quarter. When Darnold throws that pick down by the goal line, I mean, I said we were out at a Christmas dinner. That's it, game over.
Yeah.
I thought like the table would turn inwards, people would talk because, we were.
That did happen for a brief moment. But
yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what's
JSN
going
wakes
on
up
here?
and they start to move the football again. And
Seahawks come out of this game all beat up. Now, the good news is Mike McDonald says rookie Nick Ebenwari did clear concussion protocol. He could have played. Doesn't look good for other defensive backs, Kobe Bryant and Reek Woolen, although Bryant looks worse than Woolen. Seahawks now 12-3, leading the NFC West, and as of this moment, the number 1 seed in the NFC in the playoffs. They control their destiny. You win at Carolina next week and in the finale versus San Francisco, and you get that prime playoff positioning, that first-round bye. As Captain Greg Bell always reminds us, the 3 times this franchise has been to the Super Bowl, it has been via the number 1 seed post position in the playoffs.
they've got the toughest schedule, though, of the 3 between the Rams, the Niners, and the Seahawks in terms of quality of opposition. So they still have to work for it, but they needed that one to win the tiebreaker with the Rams.
Yeah, and of course the 49ers hold the tiebreaker right now based on that crazy victory in week 1 here at Lumen. So, yeah, absolutely. One for a Steve Sabol game. NFL Films, like, joking with a friend of mine yesterday, like, you'll be retired on your porch, and they'll still be showing highlights of this game.
Chris Daniels down in one of our media friends down in Seattle tweeted after the game, is that the biggest or most exciting regular season victory in Seahawks history?
Wow. I am no authority. I will leave it to a 12 who remembers the catalog of games
Yes.
over the last 40, 50 years more than me. Needless to say, that playoff win against the Packers the one year was...
Is that the Golden Tate game?
That was the everything game. Was it John Ryan to Luke Wilson, the field goal, the recovered onside kick, the everything.
The Fail Mary is what I'm thinking about.
Oh, you're thinking Fail Mary. No. That was against Packers too, right?
Yes.
That was a Monday night game. No, I'm talking about the playoff win where they came storming.
But that's playoffs. We're
Storming
talking regular
back.
season. It's going to be up there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's on the short list of greatest games I've ever seen, Blake. Like,
And Matt, if they lose that game, there are serious questions
of
about
course.
Sam Darnold.
Well, there should still be serious
There
questions
is.
about Sam Darnold. I mean, he stunk the joint out for 3 quarters.
But is it just L.A. Ram kryptonite? And
Like-
what are the chances they cross paths with the Rams in the playoffs?
I'm sorry, but Seattle won the football game, and yet my conclusion is Seattle is not winning a Super Bowl with that quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, his highs are high, but his lows are so
Holy
low.
cow, were they low, Blake?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the picks last night, where are you throwing the ball?
2 of them, guys, right into the numbers without having to move.
Yeah.
Including a lineman that is 7,000 pounds and is as wide as the day is long.
Kobe Turner, he threw it right to him.
Yeah.
Anyways, what a game.
What a game.
Whitecaps, they select 2 players in the MLS Super Draft's first round yesterday, taking University of Washington midfielder Zach Ramsey, 17th overall. That was with the pick acquired from Austin for Jaden Nelson. And should say, national champion Zach Ramsey. The University of Washington won the NCAA soccer championship earlier this week.
2 Huskies they drafted, and one's the University of Seattle
Seattle
player.
University as well. So a Pacific Northwest feel to the draft. The second first-round pick, 29th overall, they took a striker, Daniel Lugo, from High Point University in, I believe, North Carolina.
Off a 14-goal season. Pretty nice. Smaller school, but had a big
Did you
season.
read anything about Ramsey? He's a box-to-box midfielder, is he?
I wonder if part of their reasoning here is groom this guy because Seb Berhalter will only be a Whitecap for 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah.
And they're going to need somebody else.
And the Caps, whether it's this administration with Axel Schuster, but even previous ones, we've talked about this, they have done pretty well in this super draft. Like they have found players and contributors in the super draft. It's not the primary form of stocking your roster, of course, in soccer. The transfer market is bigger. Some even look down their nose at the super draft. Oh, the super draft. But the Caps continuously find contributors in this exercise. Tate Johnson was incredible for them this year, stepping in and playing
No one
left
thought
back.
Tate Johnson would do
Nobody.
that.
No.
Nobody. Now, we should also mention the first overall pick.
Canadian.
Only the second Canadian ever to go first in the Super Draft, Markovic from North Carolina. NC State, I want to say.
Yeah. From Gatineau, Quebec.
And
Kyle Larin is the other Canadian to go first overall.
Moise Bombito, the best defender Canada's got right now, this is a defender as well, was third in the Super Draft. So if this guy can be another, he's not going to be as fast as Bombito, different style of play, but if he can be a quality defender like Moise Bombito,
this has good implications
not for this
the
World
national
Cup.
team.
Yeah, not for this
Going
World
forward.
Cup.
Yeah.
Next round.
Yeah. No, I did a little bit of reading. People were excited about the top prospects in this class, including this Canadian defender. So good on them. Also got Axel Schuster yesterday speaking, and this from our girl, Harjo Hall of the Daily Hive, who does such a great job covering the Whitecaps. And so you remember Pavco, BC Place, put out that statement last week when asked about the Whitecaps, talking to the city about the Hastings Park site. Axel yesterday addressing that, quote, "I've heard that some people think it's the right thing to do to write pretty negative and very aggressive messages towards people sitting on the other side of the table and speaking with us. We think we've had positive conversations." So if you didn't see that statement, it was lengthy. It was
long.
It was preachy.
Yeah.
It felt like, you're scorned X. And let me just say this. If there are people at Pavco and BC Place, public servants, who plan to conduct themselves with pettiness and jealousy during this lease negotiation because the Caps are hoping to move elsewhere long term, then they are not fit to hold the public trust in the public offices that they hold. Mm-hmm. That's disqualifying as I see it. I'm sorry. Grow the fuck up and do your job. BC Lions re-signed center Michael Couture through 2027, 2-year deal, stood to become a free agent in February, and not a player the Lions could afford to lose given their lack of quality Canadian offensive linemen. Burnaby Bourne went to Centennial and Coquitlam, then to Simon Fraser, started his career with Winnipeg. Limited at 12 games last year because of injury, but a key cog in that offense that set a pro football record, averaging 8.04 yards per play. Couldn't afford to lose Couture. I mean, they were playing so many American offensive linemen by the end, Blake. Ultimately, I think that has to change, and Couture is the mainstay in the middle. Results of the poll question from yesterday. We asked you, given the return from the Quinn Hughes trade, are you excited about the Canucks' future? And the people said yes or no.
They said yes.
Indeed. Percentage?
65.
69. Pretty good. Ryan says the answer is, we saw so much of this in the comments. The answer is conditional. The next moves matter most. If it's more shortcuts like we've seen under multiple management groups now, then we're just repeating what hasn't worked. Cora says if we get a top 3 pick, yes. Otherwise, no. We saw so much of that. Depends on the draft pick. Depends on what other trades they make by the deadline. And then a lot of people who voted no just say it until there's a new owner.
But again, to be fair, Rutherford said the same thing. Rutherford said it's a very important draft for them.
Yeah.
So,
errors and omissions from yesterday's program, typo in the poll question. We had a apostrophe that wasn't needed.
They're fun to throw in.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to our channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Costs you nothing. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time, weekdays. Of course, it's another early start Monday, so we will be going at 10 a.m. again on Monday. And please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about. Keep it local.